Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. So today also we are continuing our integration of MuleSoft with databases. And today we will see how to update and delete records in a table in databases using just single record and also using bulk update for updating multiple records. And also there is bulk insert. We will see also what is bulk insert, how is it different from insert, because last time we saw we inserted data to the database using insert, and we inserted when we have only one object, we just use it insert. When we have multiple rows, like in an array, we use it for each and parallel for each. So today we will see bulk insert and compare bulk insert with for each and parallel for each when inserting data. And also I have an assignment. This assignment will need a significant amount of time. And what you are going to do in this assignment is I have in the GitHub repo, we have 3 different data sets of different sizes. One is small size, one is medium size, and one is large size. So which of these techniques should you use to insert this data set to a database? When is insert appropriate with for each? When is it appropriate with parallel for each? And when is bulk insert appropriate? So from that assignment, you will practice that and learn that well. So I have pushed this project today. Okay, this is about the data, by the way. Yeah, this is about the data. So today we are using the diamonds data again. But the diamonds data, I have added a product column, a product ID column, so that it helps us to update rows based on the product ID. The data that was pushed before didn't have product ID. Now I have added product ID. So if you have the diamonds.csv data in your computer, you downloaded it before, please delete that and download again. If you have not done it at all, please download the diamonds data and practice the content that we are covering. And today's project, I have pushed it to GitHub. It is this project that you see highlighted at the bottom. Update, delete, bulk insert, and bulk updates. That is what we are going to see. So once we see it today, as usual, get it from GitHub, use it for your reference, and if you get stuck somewhere, compare yours with what is there, and that can help you to fix any issues you may encounter. And so, like last time, first we are going to practice the SQL syntax before we start using it in MuleSoft. So we will see the code. How do we do it in SQL itself? We will practice with the code in Workbench. Then once we practice it in Workbench, then we'll see how do we implement it in MuleSoft. So the code I have is this one. Okay. So it is this one on updating and deleting data or records is what we are going to see today. Last time we saw how to insert a single record and a multiple records. So first, what we did last week was we created a database called MuleSoft. We just ran this create database MuleSoft. So it created this database for us. As you can see in Workbench, I have this MuleSoft database. So when we run this one, use MuleSoft, it makes it the default database. The queries that we write after this, it is going to search the tables under this database. And if you are creating table also, if you don't specify can you please unmute me, Salam? I think I am muted. Okay. So if you are creating a table also, once you make this database default database, when you create a table also, it is going to create it under this default database. Okay. So to create a database, we use this keyword, this create table, to create a table, we use the create table keywords, and we provide the table name Then the column names and the data type we said last time. Int is integer, so customer ID, since it is just a number, it is an integer, we say. The rest of them, all of these are string of variable lengths, and for that we said we use varchar. So in here we are saying varchar 255 minutes. These columns are of variable lengths, and it can go up to 255. And the different data types are in this W3 schools link. We discussed it. The other thing we saw is also how to insert a single record versus multiple records. So to insert a single row, we just use this keyword as insert into, followed by the table name. Then we put all the columns we want to insert here. Then we have values. After this keyword values, within brackets, we provide the different values that correspond to these columns. So we say the sequence matters. Like for example, country is in here, it is the last column. So Germany here corresponds to country, whereas customer ID is the first one. So one is customer ID. So this one we said, this is how we insert a single record into a table in a database. What about when we have multiple rows? When we have multiple rows, the only difference is here, this one, we have closed it using a semicolon. We separate multiple rows using a comma, and we put semicolon at the end. But the values keyword, we just write it one time. So insert into table name, the different column names within brackets, values, all of these are the same with inserting a single value, a single row. If we are inserting multiple rows now, each row will be, the values for each row in the database will be within brackets. As you can see, this is one row, this one is one row, this one is one row, and so on. That was what we discussed last time, and also we saw how to implement it in MuleSoft. So today we are going to see updating and deleting, and you can read from the W3 Schools website. So we have SQL update here, SQL delete here. So let's start with update. So the syntax for updating records in a table is we start with the keyword update. Update, I think it could be, yeah, this one is bigger font. So we have update followed by the table name. If it is customers name, for example, we put customers. Then we have this keyword set, column 1, value 1, comma, column 2, value 2, comma, and so on. So these are the column names, and these are the new values that we want them to be updated to. And under this keyword, we specify which rows we want to update, because we want to update specific rows. So the rows that we want to update, we specify some condition here. So we will see that in the example. So we have an example here. So I want to make MuleSoft my default database. So that's why I have used MuleSoft here. If I run this, take it, copy this, go to Workbench. As you can see, by the way, as you can see now, MuleSoft is my default database. That is why it is bold. But if I just make this one my default schema, so Northwind is my default schema, MuleSoft is not. Now, if I bring this and run it, then MuleSoft will be bold. That will be the default database in this case. Okay, so then after that, we have the customers table that we inserted last time using MuleSoft. This customers table, let me show you what it has. So let's start from customers. So this is the customers table. It has 91 records. This is what we inserted last time. Different customers, including, let me sort it based on the customer ID. This one, 91 records that you see. And it has different columns, including customer name, contact name, address, city, postal code, and the country. So we will work today. We will see how to update records and how to delete the records with this table. For example, let's say the user with a user here, a customer may move from one to another place. So their address, their city, postal code, and country could change, and we may want to update that. So that is what this first example is telling us. In the customers table, customer with customer ID 1 has moved to Paris, France. Update the table. So customer with customer ID 1 is this one. So in this table, it says the city is Berlin and the country is Germany. But let's say now we want this customer has moved to France and they now are in Paris. So we want to update the city and the country. Actually, we have to update including the address and the postal code also because it is a new address now. But let's see how to update only these two for now. So you see, we start with the keyword update, then the table name, which is customers. Then we set city equals to Paris, country equals to France, where customer ID equals to 1. So this one filters which rows to update. Customer ID 1 is only one record, which is the first record, is this one. In the first record, so in the first row, change city to Paris and the country to France is what we are saying. And remember also we have to include commas here to separate the different columns. If you see the syntax here, it is update table, set column 1, value 1, comma, column 2, value 2, and so on. So now this one, if I copy it and take it here and run it, you will see the first record, the city and the country will be updated. So run this. Now let's see the records. Select start from customers and sort it on customer ID. You see now city is Paris and country is France. So this is how data gets updated in a database. So that's how we update. We can have multiple where in the where condition here we can have multiple conditions, including and, or, and so on, like what we saw in the previous class. That is how we update records. But we also are going to see how to implement this in MuleSoft itself. How do I update records in a table when I integrate MuleSoft with databases is what you have to keep in your mind. The other one, let's see deleting records. So for deleting records, the syntax is here. There is this keyword, this delete from, provided by the table name, then where we specify a condition. So in updating, when we update, we are updating specific columns, as you can see here, whereas when deleting, we are deleting the whole record, because the whole instance or the whole observation. So for example, we may delete customer with customer ID 1. If this database is, for example, list of subscribers who subscribe to our service to get emails every week about something, or it could be mail service also. And if someone of them unsubscribed completely from our service and they say they don't want to get anything, then we may want to delete their information from our database. So in this one, that is what it is saying. In the customers table, customer with customer ID 1 is no more a customer, and you want to delete it. So delete from customers where customer ID equals to 1. So bring it here. First, they moved to France. We updated it. Now they say they want to unsubscribe completely. So we delete them from our table. So delete from customers any row that has customer ID of 1 is what we are saying here. So now if I run this and come run here, so let's start from customers to see the data in the table and sort it based on customer ID. See, it starts from 2 because 1 has already been deleted. So that is how we delete a record from a table. Next, let's see how to update and delete data using MuleSoft when we integrate MuleSoft with database. So first, let me quickly review this, what we did last time. So last time we saw inserting a single record and multiple records using for each, and parallel for each is what we saw. And what we did was, once we connect with databases, we have seen already how to connect to MySQL and Postgres multiple times. What we did was, so inserting a single record, we have this keyword. Let me copy this and bring it to here. So what we did is insert into customers. This is a table. These are the keywords, insert into keywords. Then we specify the column names as they exist in the table. Then in values, we have values followed by bracket, open bracket, close bracket here. In here, we don't give values. If we just give values, every time it runs, it will just insert the same value. So it will be static. It will not be dynamic. So to make it dynamic, what do? We give it keys here. Let me copy the rest part of it. If I bring this here, probably if you didn't understand this last time, please pay attention here. So what are we doing here? For the values, for customer ID, for example, I am giving it a key called customer ID. I can call this key any name. It doesn't matter. And these are all keys. However, I should get these keys. I should get them in here in the input parameters box. So this customer ID, its value is payload.customerID. Like, to understand this concept, just what we are doing here is assume what we are doing here is MuleSoft will replace the customer ID, this key, by this one, like this. The second one, it is going to replace it by this, because the keys have to be replaced by values, and the values, they come from the payload. So in the payload, we pass key value pairs. This one also the same thing. So this is just this one and so on. So to make it dynamic, what we said is, to make it dynamic, here we give it keys, any keys. I can call, by the way, this one, you can also call it A, B. I mean, it doesn't matter. Like, even if the keys I have here are the same as column names, it should not confuse you. It should not necessarily be like that. I can just make them anything as far as I give the value, the values corresponding to those keys. So if I do this, but I mean, when we put the keys, key names, when they are intuitive, it is easier to understand. But still, this one will also work, is what I am trying to say, so that you understand the difference between the keys and the values. So I can do like this. This is C, this is D, and so on. So this is what we saw last time. Okay, so I will close this, what we saw last time, and open today's project. As I said, it is on GitHub, and I will send you also the Google slides step by step how to create it. So you create that and you compare with what I have on GitHub. Let me open this. Okay, let's start with update. So let me add a logger. I have a logger here. Let's run it in, we will run it in debug mode to show you. Let's update, for example, the customers. Let's update, let's say, the person with customer ID 2, let's say they recently moved to the US. Initially, they were living in Mexico. Now, this person has moved to the US, and now they are living in Washington, D.C. So we want to change the country to SA, the city to DC, postal code, we will give it some dummy numbers, and the address also some dummy address. So let's update it like that. How do you do that for MuleSoft? So we have this listener, because we want to send, we want to test it by sending from Postman. So update customer is a pass, as you can see. And then from the database module, as you can see, the database module, it has different operations here. There is update here. So I connected in the configuration, I connected to MySQL like what we did last time. But here, see, let me copy this so that you can clearly see it, and bring it here. And in the input parameters box, what do I have? Copy this and paste it here. So the first part is what we have in the SQL text box. So update, as you can see, update is the keyword that we use to update table. Then we have the table name. Then set, city is new city key. This is a key. Country, new country. This is also a country. Address is new address. Postal code is also this key. And which records do we want to update? Where the customer ID is a new provided customer ID key. So in here, in the input parameters box, I am specifying the values of each key. So new city, what is the value of new city? So I'm going to pass a query parameter. So the city, the new city, will be passed as a query parameter, and we will call it city. So its value, the value for this new city, will be attributes.queryparameters.city. For country also, attributes.queryparameters.country, and so on. So this, all of them, they are coming from the attributes. So what MuleSoft is doing is basically when it sends the code to the database, this case, it is going to replace them by their corresponding values from here. Since we have an object like here, this is very familiar to us. This is in a JSON, we have an object with key value pairs. And if you have the keys here, to access their values, it gets their values from here. And I want to show you this. That's why I have added a logger here. Let's add a breakpoint and run this in debug mode. And until this gets deployed, I will send the request from Postman. So let me see. Okay. So update customer is a pass query parameter, as we said. We start with question mark. And what are the different? So we have CT. CT is DC. Let me make it uppercase. DC. And ampersand for and. What's the other one? We have to specify country, address, postal code, and the customer ID. So come here, and country is USA, and address is 1234 ABC Street, Northwest, for example. And what else do we have to specify? Oh, can you guys hear? Okay. Sorry. Let me try to unmute you. What happened? What is it saying? Hello, participants to unmute themselves. Do you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So we said we want to update the record with customer ID 1 because they moved recently to the US. So we are providing everything, including the country, postal code, city, and address. And the name and the contact name, name is the same, customer name, and the contact name also, we are not updating it. The customer ID is the same person, so we don't want to update customer ID. For this customer ID, since they moved to the US, change the city, the postal code, country, and address is what we are doing. So I have this postal code. The spelling should be as it is specified in the code, and it is also case sensitive. So postal code 21044, and let's see what the other one was, customer ID 2. Okay, so customer ID 2. So it will get from, as you can see here in the query parameters, we have city, DC, country, SA, address 1234 ABC Street, Northwest, postal code 21044, customer ID 2. So from here it will get these values, and let me see if this is deployed already. Okay, I had some data somewhere. Let me remove that. Okay, it is not here. Look, update. This one had to delete. The other, I have other flows, so this data is from other flows. I don't need them for now. So let me resume this. Okay, perfect. So now I can send my request. And as I said, we are looking at this flow, the first flow on the top, to update a given record. Okay? If I send this, oh, by the way, yeah, I have the breakpoint as you see, send. Now come to the breakpoint to here. So as you see under attributes, we have our query string, 3 values. As you can see under query parameters, we have 5, yeah, CD, country, address, postal code, and the customer. And this code, the values for these ones, it is getting them here. So if I bring this here and run it here, let me show you here. Probably this one, 0. Okay, and if I run this, so it creates this from the query param, from what we sent the query param. Increase the size here. So it creates this object. We have this object, new city, DC, new country, SA, new address, this value, new postal code, this value, and provided customer ID is 2. So for this customer ID in the SQL query text, what we have done is for this provided customer ID, which is 2, the city should be changed to new city, the country should be changed to new country, and so on. That's what we have done. Now let me click next processor, and I have just a transform message here that tells the status. If it gets updated successfully, then it will return this to Postman. So run it. Now if I come to Postman, I got this one, table successfully updated. But the main thing is we want to go to Workbench and see if it has been updated. So this guy, let me take a screenshot to show you the difference. Customer ID 2 is this one. Now, if I run the select stuff from customers again and sort it by customer ID, so customer ID 2, as you can see that you can see the difference. Contact name and customer name and contact name didn't change, but address, it has changed. CD, it has become DC, postal code, and country have changed. So that's how we update a single record. The next one, let's see how to delete a single record. So to delete a single record, we have this delete. It is the same thing. The only thing you have to understand here is passing, to make it dynamic, in the SQL query text box here, we pass a key, not a value. Otherwise, it will be just static. And the value of that key, we provide it in the input parameters box. That's the only thing you have to remember. So this one also, let me copy it to here to show you. And from here, copy this and paste it here. So you see, delete from customers table where customer ID is its value is its value will come from this key, and the value of that key is this one, attributes.query parameters.customer ID. So it removes the whole row. So basically, for your understanding, you can just skip this, and this one you can understand it. This is the same for our understanding. This is the code. You should not write it like that, but this means exactly like this. From the what we are saying is, go to the customer's table, and if you get a record where the customer ID is attributes.queryParameters.customer ID, delete it, is basically what we are saying. However, here we in MuleSoft, here we provide a key, and the value of the key we provide it in the input parameters box. So let's test that here. For example, now the user came to the ES, the user with customer ID 2 came to the ES, but now it is, they are not a customer anymore, and we want to delete them. So let me show you the path for this one is delete customer, and customer ID is what I need to specify as a query parameter. Now I have only one query parameter. So go here, customer ID can leave it here, paste this here, and add question mark like this. So this one, delete customer ID from the use the delete customer flow, and we are passing a query parameter with customer ID 2. Send. As you can see, record, it returned record successfully deleted from table. Now, if I run this again, the select star from customers, I should not see the customer with customer ID. There, it should be gone. Run and sort them based on customer ID. As you can see, 2 is gone, and it starts with 3 for that reason. 1, we deleted it when we use this code in here. 1, we deleted it here, and 2, we deleted it by sending this request. So that's how you delete and update single records. But in Mule4, we have bulk update and bulk insert. Here we have, as you can see, under the database module, we have bulk operations, including delete, insert, and update. So what are they? How are they different? Is what we are going to see next. In the next slide is this assignment will be okay. Yeah, here. So a database connector, bulk operations. It includes bulk insert, bulk update, and bulk delete. So this enables us to manage data in bulk. That means in chunks. Rather than deleting one row at a time, we can delete multiple rows, and we can insert multiple rows and so on. And this improves performance as compared to executing a single insert or update or delete operation. And also, when we use, for example, for each, it is making multiple connections to the database, and the database may limit the number of connections that we are allowed to make. So with the bulk operations, it only makes one database connection. So that is one advantage. The other thing is also it minimizes the network overhead because it doesn't connect again and again. It doesn't send one record at a time. So the bulk, anyway, if you have reasonable amount of data, using the bulk operations is what we have to do. But if it is a single record or very few records, you can use insert with for each as well. So I have added the documentation here. You can read that. It is detailed documentation. Now we will get back to the flows and discuss here. So let's start with bulk insert. So bulk insert, what I am doing here is for bulk insert, in the code here that I will share, I have this code. So if you remember, we inserted the diamonds.csv data manually using Workbench, and that was taking so much time. By going here, that was taking so much time, and also we saw also how to insert it using Python for those of you who use Python, and it was faster inserting it using Python. What about how do we bulk insert using MuleSoft is what we are looking at right now. So first, let's create that table. For completeness, I have added this code. Otherwise, if you have already inserted it, just truncate it to remove the data. So you have the table with the columns there, and then you use the bulk insert experiment. But in my case, I removed it, I think, yeah. So I removed it. I have, let me see, refresh. Yeah, I don't have diamonds table, as you can see here. So I will create it again. These are the columns. Oh, yeah. By the way, the other thing is, in the diamonds data, I have added a new column called product ID to help me to show you the functionalities with bulk update. So the previous diamonds data, it didn't have product ID. So you have to run this one. Just drop that table and run this code and insert it again. So now let me create an in here, test this. Now, if I run this, it will create that diamonds table under MuleSoft. If you don't see it, you simply right click here and refresh. So diamonds is here. And let me make sure there is in data. If you just right click and select rows limit 1000 or select star from diamonds. Oh, this one, maybe it was existing there. I didn't drop it. Let me drop it now. Drop table, right click on it and clicking drop the table. So the difference between drop table and the truncate table, let's see. Drop table, it drops the whole table name, including its schema or including the columns and the data type. Whereas truncate table, it removes the rows, but the structure of the table will be there. That means the columns and what data type each column is will be there. Now I just want to drop it completely. Drop table, drop now, and I want to create it to show you. So run this and come here. As you see, there is no diamonds data. Yeah, maybe before I failed to notice it, but it was there. Refresh all. Now diamonds table is there. The schema you can see here, so the different columns in their data type. Product ID is integer, and most of them are double, and also there are a couple of them which are strings of variable lengths. So let me make sure there aren't any records there. Yep, now as you can see, when I do select star, I don't need to specify the database because the database, default database we have specified. So if I run this, now as you can see, there are no any records there. Okay, so how can we update? How can we insert the data using bulk insert? And how long does it take? Does it take as much as it took when we insert the data by just browsing using Workbench? Is what we are looking at right now. So I have this source trigger on new or updated file. What it is going to do is, we have seen this multiple times, I have this bulk insert folder. Under it, I have this input folder. So when it gets new data in this input folder, it will insert it to the Z database and back it up here. Let me make sure this has the product ID column. I have removed the previous version of the data, but I want to make sure this one is not the previous version. Yep, as you can see, let me increase the font size so that you can see it. Assume you have a company and you sell diamonds. So these are different diamonds with their attributes. So I have added this product ID. We have carat, color, and so on that measure the quality of the diamond, and it's also its price. So the other thing we are going to see is we have this price, but let's say it is a holiday season week, and this week maybe for some of them you want to make a discount, so 10% discount. So that means you have to update the price. Or maybe some of the diamonds you want to sell them, all of them, so that you can bring other new ones. So you may need to discount the price. We will do that also in the bulk update. So close this. From here, I will cut it and take it to the input folder, which is this one, input folder. Then I have specified here the MIME type that it is CSV, and under general I have, like what we have been doing, I told it should read only CSV data, check every 10 seconds, delete it from the original folder, and move it to the backup location. All of these things are the same ones like the previous exam, in the previous ones that we were doing. Then once it reads the CSV data, I'm transforming it to JSON, nothing here fancy, just nothing fancy, transform to JSON. Then we have bulk insert. So there is one thing that I want you to pay attention here between bulk insert and insert or update. So in insert, update, delete, we have these input parameters because it was processing one object at a time. So for each from each object, we are accessing keys. However, when we use the bulk operations, we don't have this input parameters box because we give it a list of key value pairs like an array. See this one. So if I click this bulk insert, come here, let me copy this. The one thing that you have that you can easily notice here is there is no input parameters box. We have only the SQL query text box. And this one, if I bring it and paste it here to show you. So insert into diamond this is the same code that we were doing before. And we have the column names here separated by comma, followed by the keyword values, open bracket. Here we have keys, as you can see. So colon, some string is a key. And these keys, they should exist in the payload. Before, when we were using insert and update, we said we can give any keys here as far as the values of the keys are specified in the input parameters. But now we don't have input parameters box. And these keys, they should exist in the payload that comes. If it doesn't exist, for the product ID, for example, if it is spelled differently in the payload, then it is not going to know it. It should be exactly like what we have in the data. So the keys, here we are specifying the keys here, like before. However, these are keys in the data, in the payload. If it is an Excel, if you think of an Excel, this is like Excel columns. This should be Excel columns. And these are the Excel columns we have in here. Let me bring this one. Let me move it from the backup location or just open it where it is. So we have this one. So these are the keys. It should be exactly, the keys should be exactly like, if it is CSV, the column name is, or if it is other kind of data, it should exist in the payload anyway. That is the difference. We don't need to specify input parameters. And I can show you even here. Let's add a logger and we can see what it looks like. We have seen this before, but it doesn't have to quickly review it. Add a logger in here, add breakpoint. Now, in the console, clear the console here. At the end, I have a logger also. It will tell me data inserted into database successfully. If this completed successfully, this will be printed on the console, which is in here. This helps us to see if it worked successfully. Okay, so now I will close this, because if it is open, it may not insert it. So I will go from the backup location, cut it, and put it in the input location. So it will grab it. Here we should see, oh, this one, is it running? Let me make sure it is in debug mode. Yeah, perfect. So it is in debug mode, as you can see now. As you can see now, my payload is here. Says the payload is too big and it cannot show it. Oh, I see. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it truncated and it shows some part of it anyway. So it is CSV format. As you can see, the different columns are here separated by comma and the values are here. So it shows some part of it only because we have like around 54,000 rows. Let me click next processor here. It will transform, the transform message will transform it to CSV. Actually, since I don't have any record, it is inserting it to the database. So this is bulk insert. Let me come to Workbench and check how many records I have there. So count star. So we saw this code. It counts the number of rows in that data. Initially, we didn't have in that table. Initially, as you can see, we don't have any table. We have only the column names. I'm checking the count. Oh, it seems it is stuck here. Okay, it is stuck in the transform to JSON. Next. Okay. I hope now it is processing and inserting the data. It has come to the logger at the end, it seems, or it's busy processing probably. I can check by running this if data has already been inserted. 12,000 records inserted, 15,000. See how fast it is. Before, when inserting using just by going here and importing the CSV, it was taking so long. But here it is fast. 23 records have already been inserted, and it is still inserting. It hasn't completed, but it doesn't take. Bulk insert is very fast. Had this been using for each, it would take much longer, but parallel for each will take slightly less than bulk insert. But in the assignment, I have an assignment here. The assignment is compare the time taken by for each. Let me make this different color so that you know it is MuleSoft component. Parallel for each and bulk insert with 3 different data sets with different sizes. We have the diamonds.csv, we have airports.csv, and vehicle crashes.csv. So this is the largest, this is the largest, this is the smallest, and this is medium. All these data sets, you can get them on the GitHub, on the course GitHub website. Let me quickly show you. The vehicle crashes, it has 1 million. As you probably may remember, last time we tried to open it with Excel and it didn't open all of it. So let me see. Vehicle crashes. Did I push it here? No? Okay. Data. Okay. Let me see if I put it in the course GitHub repo here. Under free MuleSoft course data vehicle crash. Okay, it is here, but I didn't push it. Let me push it right now. What did I do here? Okay. Git status. Oh yeah, this one has not been pushed. So git add. Then it is adding it. It is big, that's why git add is even took some time. The next is git push. Add some message here. Let's call vehicle crashes data for assignment, and then git push. Okay, it may take some time to push it, but definitely since it is bigger. Okay, anyway, the assignment is to experiment with these data sets of larger size. If you will, this is of larger size. You can categorize this as larger size, more than 1 million. This one, tens of thousands. This one, very few records, using for each, parallel for each, and bulk insert. The time each one of them takes with this data set is, I want you to create a table to time it, and when you run it, it may take some time. You don't need to just run it and sit there. You can just submit the job and do your other work, or leave. For example, especially when inserting these vehicle crashes, you can do it before you go to bed, and it will complete overnight. But make sure in your flow you have to add time components like the time function now, before and after the insert operation, so that you can take the difference. If you forget that, you can go to the previous slides that we were doing like that, to time operations to get the time taken by different operations. Okay, so we were in here. Let's see how many records have been already inserted. So you see 53,794 records have been inserted. Now it is already complete. So the diamonds data is already complete. We can see, select star from diamonds. If I run this, can see this. We have this data, and say you have a company that sells diamonds, and let's say this week it is your birthday week, and you want to make 10% discount for diamonds that have carat values less than 0.24, for example. So we will use bulk update to create new price tags, new price values in the table. That's what we are going to see next. So here I have the last one I have is bulk update. Let me make sure. Okay, bulk update is the last flow, the fourth flow that you see here. Let me move this like this, and I can hide the rest of them. Okay, here we have bulk update. So the same thing. Let's say we may have we may change prices based on some events, and the new prices we want to put them in some location. Then it should pick them up from that location and make the necessary updates. So let's say, for example, in the diamonds data, where is bulk update, bulk insert? Here is bulk insert in here. Okay. Oh, this one, why it didn't delete it? Let me see. Didn't I specify tell it to delete it? Yeah, delete it and move it from here. Maybe I could see. Let me see. Now directly insert from bulk insert input. Yeah, bulk insert input. Bulk insert input. There is CSV data. It imported it, but it didn't delete it for some reason. Because the data is here. Let me see how many edits. Did I copy it again? Did I paste it 2 times? So run this. Yeah, it is the same. It is not inserting anymore. But I see. Okay, probably it will be because this node, because the node has a breakpoint. Oh yeah, that's the reason. What I can do is I will stop this because I don't want it to insert it again, and remove this from here to the backup, and in design perspective, run this in design perspective and remove the breakpoint here, and this one. If there are any new records after processing them, I want it to delete it and move it to the backup location. That should be fine. Okay, and this one, run it again. So in here, it will pick the new any data that it gets in the. I have a folder that I'm using this bulk update. Under bulk update, I have input. If I put any data in here, it should update the records in the table based on the data in here, and to move the data once it updates the records in the database, it should move it to the backup location. And basically, since we said we want only it, we want to apply discount on specific products only. The data is not the whole CSV data, but just a part of the CSV data. If it is the whole CSV, even rather than updating, if you change prices for all of them, just inserting again, bulk insert could be a better approach. But now we want to update only some records. So let me copy this diamonds data and create a discount file. Call this discount and open it. So what I am going to do is diamonds with carat values less than 0.24. I will give them. I will make the prices. I will make 10% discount to the prices. So the first thing is, let me just click here. We'll see this this part that I am doing in Excel. We can do it in MuleSoft also, but first we have to see mapping, map operations. So that's why I'm doing it in Excel. But anyway, in here, in Excel, you can click filter, then click carat, and we want to include those that have carat values of, let's say, up to 0.23. How many records? 319 rows. We want to update only these 319 rows. I will move them to a new sheet and delete the original sheet. So I have all, as you can see, I scroll down here at the bottom, I have 319 records. Now price, let's create another column called price again. And the values, we want to make them this price times, since we say 10% discount, or let's make it even 20% discount. So we want to multiply it by 0.8. As you can see, 726 now has decreased to 260. And if I just click this, it will do the same math operation to all of them. So these are the new price values. Now this price, I want to copy it to this column. However, since this column L depends on column H, what first I should do is copy column L and paste it here. But when pasting, rather than pasting the formula, I want to paste the values. So you have under paste options, you have paste values with 1, 2, 3. So just click this. Now, the difference is this column is formula. If you see here, you see here H2 times 0.8. This column depends on column H. Column L depends on column H, whereas column M doesn't depend on anything. They are static values. So now I can delete column L, copy this static price values, new price values that are 20% discount of the original, and paste them over the original values. Paste. As you can see, now I don't want two columns with the same price values. We delete this one. Now we delete this. So what we have done here is the prices, we have decreased it, we have made a discount, 20% discount. Now I can use bulk update. In bulk update also the same thing. It is the same as bulk insert. The only difference here is we use the bulk update operation from the database module. We have bulk update here, as you can see. And in here also, you don't specify, you don't have input parameters. You just provide the SQL query text. You have to make sure your keys exist in the payload. So I have price and product ID. So what I'm doing here is, as you can see, let me copy this so that you can clearly see it. If I bring it and paste it here, what are we saying? In the diamonds table, in records where the product ID is found in the new data, change the price to the new prices is what we are saying. So these keys are already in the payload, in the new discount CSV file. So that one, I can move it, that CSV file. If this is too much information, take time and practice it, and you will understand it better. So cut it from here and go to bulk update and put it under the input folder. So from here, if I go to the console, it is going to pick it from there, transform it to JSON, and process it. It will make this perspective, default preset perspective. Okay. And so now it is updating. As you can see, the bulk update flow is being processed. That's what is running. It is updating the data. After it completes, I think it has completed already. You see table updated successfully. Table updated successfully. This one is what we have here. So this way, what we did is the original prices, we updated them, and we can check that. Here, select star from diamonds, where was it carat less than or equal to 0.23, we included these ones. If I do like this and run this, and we can compare it with the new values. Bulk update, it had moved it to the backup location. This one, for example, it was 300 something, now it is 260. I should get these values if I run this. Run. As you can see, product ID 1, its price has changed. Before it was something else. Now 300 something. I can open it and show you in the under data. I have diamonds. So product ID 1, it was 326 before, but now after the 20% discount, it is 260, and that is what we see in the database as well. Okay, so in today's class, we saw how to update and delete single records. You can also use for each, by the way, the same way, like insert. You can put it update and insert, update and delete. You can put them in for each and also in parallel for each. But in addition to that, we saw bulk operations, including bulk update and bulk insert. You can also experiment with bulk delete, and make sure you do this assignment. I would encourage you to do it in your study groups and discuss any new findings you found while doing this, or if you have any bottlenecks, also help each other. Let me unmute you and take any questions you have.